Thank you guys for tapping back in with the NBA Rewind channel. Please like, subscribe. This edition will be focused on the 1980-81 NBA season, which was the 35th anniversary of the NBA. And the Dallas Mavericks were introduced as the 23rd team in the NBA. This caused the Chicago Bulls and Milwaukee Bucks to move to the Eastern Conference and the San Antonio Spurs and Houston Rockets to move to the Western Conference, finishing the geographical realignment that the league started in the 1978-79 season. The 1981 season provided various dominant teams in the Eastern Conference and to the lesser degree in the Western Conference. The Eastern Conference featured 451 teams, 3 of which won 60 games. The Celtics paced the league with 62 wins, their second straight 60-win season, just 2 years removed from a 29-53 year, the year before they drafted Larry Bird. The Celtics came into the season with a chip on their shoulder after a 4-1 conference final series loss to the Philadelphia 76ers in the previous year. And the Sixers are still led by NBA MVP Julius Erving. The 76ers also won 62 games, but lost the Pacific Division tiebreaker to the Celtics. Philly had another dominant regular season campaign after losing last year's finals to the LA Lakers. They were primed for a finals run, with Julius Erving winning his first league MVP, and the team was extremely motivated to get that ring for the Doctor. The third 61 team in the East was the Milwaukee Bucks. This was the first 61 season since the departure of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They were coached by Don Nelson and led by Bob Lanier and MVP candidate Marcus Johnson. Moving to the East was a smooth transition for Milwaukee, as they were rated the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks rounded out the East Elite, winning 50 games, led by Bill Cartwright and All-Star guard Michael Ray Richardson. Out West, the Phoenix Suns finished with the number 1 seed, winning a then franchise record 57 games and winning the first Pacific Division title, outpacing the defending champion LA Lakers. Suns featured 4 starters that averaged at least 15 points per game and had 3 All-Stars for the first time in franchise history. Dennis Johnson, an All-Star guard who they acquired from the Seattle Supersonics for Paul Westphal, Truck Robinson, and Walter Davis. Coached by Stan Albeck, the San Antonio Spurs won 52 games this season, an 11-game improvement from the previous year, and the number 2 seed in the West. They also won the Midwest Division title and the number 4 rated offense in the NBA, led by George Gervin's 27 points per game. They also had one of the top defenders in the NBA, George Johnson, who led the league in blocks with 3.4 blocks a game. Next, the defending champion LA Lakers were the 3rd seed in the West, winning 54 games. They were attempting to be the first team to win back-to-back championships since the 1969 Boston Celtics. Magic Johnson missed 45 games this year to knee injury, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar kept the team intact, having a strong regular season heading into the playoffs. The final team to make the playoffs in the Western Conference was one of the Western Conference's newest additions, the Houston Rockets. They were coached by Dale Harris, and they finished with a 40-42 record, and they were led by superstar center Moses Malone, who averaged 28 points, 15 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks. This season also featured the 31st NBA All-Star game in history, with the East-West format still intact. The Western Conference was represented by All-Stars Adrian Dantley of the Utah Jazz, Walter Davis of the Phoenix Suns, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was a top vote-getter, of the LA Lakers, Paul Westphal of the Seattle Supersonics, Iceman George Gervin of the San Antonio Spurs, Moses Malone, Jamal Wilkes, Truck Robinson, Jack Sikma, and Dennis Johnson of the Phoenix Suns. The Eastern Conference All-Stars were Julius Erving, Larry Bird, Artis Gilmore of the Chicago Bulls, Eddie Johnson, Nathan Archibald, Robert Parrish, Reggie Theus of the Chicago Bulls, Marcus Johnson of the Milwaukee Bucks, Michael Ray Richardson of the New York Knicks, Dan Roundfield, who was injured, and Mike Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The East won the All-Star game in a thriller, 123-120. All-Star MVP was Nathan Archibald, posting 9 points and 9 assists. The award winners, Coach of the Year was Jack McKinney. 1 year removed from his bicycle accident with the Lakers, he led the Indiana Pacers to a 44-38 record after winning just 37 games the previous year, led by George McGinnis. Rookie of the Year was number 2 overall pick Gerald Griffith, who led all rookies with 20 points per game. Rebound by the Doctor. Julius Erving won his first NBA MVP in the 1981 season, averaging 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and almost 2 blocks, while leading the Sixers to a 62-20 record. Adrian Dantley led the NBA in scoring, averaging 30.7 points per game, despite the Jazz's abysmal season. This stopped George Gervin's 3-year streak of being the league's top scorer. Moses Malone led the NBA in rebounds, averaging 14.8 boards per game. And Magic Johnson led the league in steals with 3.4 a game despite his injury-plagued season. The All-NBA first team had 4 repeat members from the previous season: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving, Larry Bird, and George Gervin, with the newest member being Dennis Johnson of the Phoenix Suns. The second team featured Otis Birdsong, Nate Tony Archibald, Marcus Johnson of the Milwaukee Bucks, leading scorer Adrian Dantley, and rebound champ Moses Malone. The NBA playoffs turned out to be exciting this season, with the Houston Rockets only won 40 games in the regular season, defeating the defending champion LA Lakers in the first round, with Moses Malone dominating the series, averaging 31 points and 18 rebounds. The Houston Rockets also went on to beat their in-state rival, the San Antonio Spurs, in the second round of the playoffs, 4-3, with Calvin Murphy posting 42 points in Game 7 of the series, sealing a 5-point win for the Spurs, in which they'll move on to the Western Conference Finals, where they're facing the other Cinderella team in the Western Conference, the Kansas City Kings. The Kings beat the Portland Trail Blazers in the first round, then dispatched the top-seeded Phoenix Suns in the second round in a series that went the distance. This meant we had 2 teams in the Western Conference Finals who were both under 500, competing for a shot at the NBA Finals. The Eastern Conference, there were 2 two-game sweeps in the first round, with the 76ers beating the Indiana Pacers and the Chicago Bulls getting the best of the New York Knicks despite being the underdog. In round 2, the Boston Celtics swept the Chicago Bulls in 4 games, and the defending Eastern Conference champion Philadelphia 76ers beat the Milwaukee Bucks in a grueling 7-game series, winning Game 7 by a score of 99-98. The conference finals matchups were set, with a Boston-Philly rematch and a Cinderella matchup out west, with the Kansas City Kings facing the Houston Rockets. The Rockets beat the Kings 4-1 in the Western Conference Finals, led by the dynamic duo of Moses Malone and Calvin Murphy. They were just too much for the Kings to handle, and here you have it, a 40-win team on the way to the NBA Finals. In the Eastern Conference Finals, the Boston Celtics came back from a 3-1 deficit, in which they won the last 3 games of the series by 5 points or less. The Celtics came into the NBA Finals against the Rockets as the overwhelming favorites. They had beat the Rockets the previous year in the playoffs when the Rockets were in the East, and this year it was the same result, as the Celtics beat the Rockets 4-2 to clinch their first NBA title since 1976, and Larry Bird's first NBA title of his career.